Holy fucking shit, guys. It happened. So guys, I recently hit 500 subscribers. Which really, when you think about it, doesn't sound like a lot. I look at all these other YouTubers out there and they have over 5 million subscribers, or 1 million subscribers, or even 10,000 subscribers. But considering I started YouTube about 3 years ago, and I've just hit 500 subscribers. So firstly, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who watches my videos, who has subscribed. You are the reason that I get to do this, and I absolutely love it. So seriously guys, thank you so much. And I was thinking about all the specials I wanted to do. I was going to do a room tour, a house tour, and then I realised my house is pretty fucking boring. I don't live in an exotic part of the world. I live in the UK. This is a crappy little house. You're not going to be interested in that. And then I thought about doing some stupid 90s, 2000 challenges like the Cinnamon Challenge or some shit, something stupid. But then I realised you guys probably don't want to see that. Right? But what I did think I would do is I thought, let's take a little trip down memory lane. You see, I started this channel with the ideology of doing really kind of any film reviews, just reviewing any film. That was how this channel got started. And then I realised I want to stick to something that is a true passion of mine in cinema, and that is Pixar films. I have always loved Pixar. Pixar has been a huge thing in my life. I love, and so that day I decided to make this channel. I thought every week I did a Pixar review up until the latest one, which at the time it just kept growing. I remember my friend messaged me and said, Luca has just come out, you need to do a review on it. And I was like, I can't, I'm still on Coco at the moment. It's like, I was still catching up, and I absolutely loved it. Just kept me on track, and every time now a new Pixar film comes out, I watch it, review it. I usually love it. So far I have. I've enjoyed most of the new ones that have come out. And so I thought, let's take a trip down memory lane, and we're just going to go through every single Pixar film, and I can show you my sort of thoughts about it. Obviously, I have reviews for every single Pixar film, so go to my channel and type that film in and you will find it. But let's go through every Pixar film that has ever come out, and let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about my video, the video I did, my thoughts on that, and at the same time, again, I really just want to say thank you guys. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, who watch my videos. It's fucking amazing, guys. Thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart. Honestly, this is an amazing achievement for me. I never thought I would get this, and yeah, thank you. I really just want to say thank you. I actually have every single Pixar review in my little book. This is my Hufflepuff book. For those of you who don't know, I'm a Hufflepuff. K Surprise. And in this book is everything that has to do with my YouTube channel. There's a few other things that I've done in my life. I have written down every single rating for every Pixar film I have done in this book, and I'm super proud of it. And so yeah, we just kind of get to go through it. And yeah, so let's go through every little Pixar film, of course. Starting with, of course, the first and original ever Pixar feature-length film, Toy Story. So Toy Story was the original one that came out, and of course I think we can all agree that Pixar changed animation films really forever. You know, it was the first computer-generated animation film. It really put Pixar on the map and really had this ideology of computer-generated animation films, which, as we all know, is a wonderful step in the right direction. Nowadays, even Disney, which is, I suppose, sort of a shame, Disney nowadays obviously are doing computer-generated animation, even though I think a lot of us do miss that classic 2D animation from Disney. But especially from Pixar, that is what they were known for. And of course, Toy Story, it's one of the greatest franchises to ever live. Most people, when you say what's the greatest Pixar film or what's the greatest Pixar franchise, it's usually got one of the Toy Story films in there. The second film that of course came after that was A Bug's Life. Now, A Bug's Life is one of my most favourite films from Pixar. In fact, it's my second favourite Pixar movie. If you've watched one of my recent videos, you'll know that I actually put a video about what is the most perfect Pixar movie, and for me that example is A Bug's Life. It's so underrated, it's so incredible, it's so overlooked. When people talk about Pixar, it very much gets lost in the dust, which is such a big shame because A Bug's Life is so amazing for all the right reasons. I absolutely love it. It's just perfect. Everything, the music, the score, the characters, everything, man. It's awesome. You should go watch A Bug's Life right now. Do it. Do it. Go watch your Bugs Life. Go watch your Bugs Life! And then the other film after that, of course, was Toy Story 2. Now, holy shit, this sequel took everything by storm. I loved doing my review on this. It's actually one of my most viewed videos on YouTube. I absolutely love it because it really is a perfect sequel. There's not a lot of things wrong with this film. It does everything right. It dials everything up to 11. It makes everything about the first one you loved and brings it into the second movie with even more stuff that you love, and it's awesome. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about Toy Story 2 being the perfect sequel, and my video very much replicates that. It's one of the most perfect sequels ever, and as we usually know, sequels sometimes can be a bit dangerous. Monsters Inc. is actually, I think, probably the first Pixar film I remember seeing in cinemas when it came out. But Monsters Inc., I remember watching it in the cinema with my parents and my family, and we all absolutely loved it. It's an absolute classic. It's so funny. John Goodman, of course, is perfect as the role of Sully, and of course you have Mike Wazowski played by Billy Crystal, who is just an absolute legend. And so, of course, Monsters Inc. is absolutely brilliant. I love that video. What I loved about Monsters Inc. was, of course, its humor. It has something for everyone. It's not just an emotionally invested story. It's also incredibly hilarious. And so Monsters Inc. is easily one of the best Pixar films ever. 100%. It was very much nearly was to be the best Pixar film when I did my video on it. So yeah, Monsters Inc. is awesome. Finding Nemo, again, was a really interesting one. I watched this film when I was on holiday with my family, and what was interesting was all my family hated it. Like, they not hated it, but they didn't like it compared to me. All of my family said they didn't really enjoy Finding Nemo when they watched it. The most things they said about it was they enjoyed, of course, the incredible CGI animation, which is on screen. Of course, the water effects are absolutely spectacular to this day, and they still look incredible when you think about how old this film is. I was very young when I watched this film, but still to this day it really changes me, and I absolutely love going back to it every now and then. I probably don't watch it as often as others, but I definitely do enjoy it, and it is an enjoyable watch, 100%. The animation on screen is just absolutely mwah! The Incredibles, of course, was fucking huge. The big thing I loved about reviewing this film especially, because nowadays we live in a world of superhero movies. Spider-Man, Batman, the Avengers, it's all coming out. You know, Disney obviously owns Marvel. Superhero films are fucking huge these days, and of course, it didn't used to be like that. I grew up with films like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, two films which I absolutely love. All for the wrong reasons. I love those films. I think they're so funny and so camp and so stupid. One of my favourite shows is the Adam West Batman show. There's a time when superhero movies were very, very camp and very silly, and people couldn't quite get the style. But of course, nowadays, superhero films are massive, they're huge, but The Incredibles, that film came out in 2004, I think? Like, holy crap. Like, you think about how far ahead that film was, and it just gets totally overlooked because it's animation, whereas really, the action, the story, the characters, the music, I mean, that jazz soundtrack is incredible. The Incredibles is, well, it's incredible. We love it. Cars is a really interesting film because I've watched it several times. I saw it with a friend of mine who is a big car enthusiast. He genuinely loves cars, as in the, you know, the piece of technology, not the film. Well, he probably likes the film, to be fair. And Cars was always an interesting one because I remember coming out the theatre and just going, okay, it's okay, it's okay. And it was really weird. Every Pixar film I had watched up until that point, I've gone, that's incredible, it's amazing, it's brilliant, it's given me something new and something different. Whereas Cars was just, yeah, it's good. And Cars is good. It's really interesting looking back at it now, which is a big thing I enjoyed when I did my review, was Cars is just, it's good. It's maybe not the greatest, but it is actually really good. It's got a nice heartfelt story. Yeah, it's got annoying characters like Mater in it, but you know, Owen Wilson's performance as Lightning McQueen is actually really good, and you know what, Cars is actually pretty okay. The first one is good. We'll talk about the sequels later, of course. Ratatouille isn't just a great Pixar film, it's a great film in general. This is actually my brother's favourite Pixar film, I think. Either this or The Incredibles. And yeah, Ratatouille is fucking amazing, man. Like, the artistry on screen, like, it makes you hungry. You know, I have never wanted to just eat something off the screen so much, and Ratatouille is a vegetarian dish. Like, talking about a guy, I love fast food, I love meat, you know, I'm not shy about it, I absolutely love eating bacon and chicken and pork, you know, everything. But Ratatouille is a purely vegetarian dish, and it made me love Ratatouille, absolutely love it. But this film is so gorgeous, the music is amazing. Ratatouille, I loved making that video. It's really difficult to talk about because it's a very perfect movie, but it's almost hard to say why. There's a lot of things that it's got going for it. And so I did struggle with that review, but it's such a good film, and I really had to break down why it was good. WALL-E is, holy shit, how do we talk about WALL-E? WALL-E is my favorite Pixar film. It just straight up is. Everything about it. It has this old-fashioned kind of score. Obviously it has songs from Hello Dolly, which is a really classic 1950s, 40s musical, which I'm a big fan. If you don't know me, I'm a massive musical lover. I actually have done musical theatre. Absolutely gorgeous. WALL-E just speaks to me in every conceivable way. He's this character who's lonely but wants to find love in the most simple ways, and the fact that it's just him holding hands with someone else is seen as love to him is just so beautiful, and I absolutely adore it. WALL-E is perfect to me. I literally don't see anything wrong with it. It's incredible, it's perfect. The fact that it does it with such minimal dialogue, I need to go watch it. And then straight after WALL-E, you have probably one of Pixar's biggest contenders for best Pixar film ever, and of course that film is Up. Up is, I mean, Jesus Christ, like I remember doing the review for this film thinking I probably won't get many views for this video, and I don't think I did, to be fair, because there's so many videos on this film because, you know, for good reason. It's an incredibly emotional story, knowing for making you cry within the first 10 minutes. My favourite part, of course, is when Carl is reading the book at the end and it just says, thanks for the adventure, now go have a new one. I mean, that is just, that's storytelling perfection, that is. It's not even just the fact of everything else, like, strip away all the music and all the animation, the character and the character arcs that they go through is absolutely sublime. I also should have said I'm just coming off a cough and cold, so I apologise. My throat is getting really croaky right now, so I apologise for how I sound. So I'm just going to keep taking water between takes, so I hope you don't mind. But of course, Up is obviously one of the greatest Pixar films I've created for good reason. Everything about it is just absolutely amazing. We love it. Come on, who does not enjoy Up? It's brilliant. And then of course Pixar were on their really big rise, obviously after films like Ratatouille, WALL-E and Up, like it really felt like Pixar were really in their stride. And then they do Toy Story 3, which, holy fuck, like that film is just pure nostalgia for everything being brilliant. Like usually nostalgia is crap and it's just a way of getting in the audience for cheap and easy laughs and tricks and stuff, but Toy Story 3 does it perfectly. Like, it was meant to be the film that finished off the franchise. Obviously they carried on, they are carrying on now. I believe they're going to be doing Toy Story 5, but it was meant to finish it all off. That was meant to be the Andy saga and complete it all. And yeah, I remember watching this film in the cinema again with my family. We all went and see it, we all loved it, we all cried for very good reasons. It's such a wonderful ending, you know, and we all know what we're talking about when Andy is explaining every individual character. He's being us. Andy represents the audience, and so that's something I really enjoyed talking about in my review, is Toy Story isn't just a good film in itself. It's a film made for the audience who grew up with it. And so I have grown up with these characters from Toy Story 1 to Toy Story 2 and now to Toy Story 3, and obviously even more going on with it. It is a film that's made for the audience and for the fans, and I think, you know, when Andy is explaining them all, it's a true love letter, I think, to the fans, which I think is what's really good about it. But just as Pixar have their highs with films like Toy Story 3, they ultimately have their lows with Cars 2. Now, holy shit, for those who are watching, if they've made it this far and you like Cars 2, and Jesus Christ, they are out there. I have had so many comments on my Cars 2 review because, you know, I'm gonna be honest, Cars 2, in my opinion, it is not a good film in the slightest. It's not good, but Jesus, there are people here who think Cars 2 is the best. Now look, there's nothing wrong with thinking that Cars is your favorite franchise. I'm thinking like Cars 1. You know, the first Cars movie is a really decent, good film. I love it. You know, it's got great merits to it. Like, I understand. Like, I give a personal and a professional review for a reason, because there are going to be things in films that you relate to more than others. A film like The Good Dinosaur, which for me, which I'll get in a bit later, I love that film because I love dinosaurs. So I'm going to enjoy that film way more than other people. So obviously some people will like Cars more than others. But Cars 2? Cars 2 is some people's favourite Pixar movie. I'm sorry, I can't get behind it. Cars 2, it's just bad. I'm so sorry. I love Pixar, and I don't get what they were trying to do. I'm sorry, I can't get it out. Like I said, I know there are lovers out there of Cars 2, but I ain't on that train. Cars 2 is just, wow. I think it is the worst Pixar film in my opinion. I'm so sorry to those who like it. Like I said, you can like Cars 1, or you can Cars 3. Cars 2, shocking, man. And then of course we had a film which I really loved talking about, even though I found it really difficult, of course, was Brave. Now, Brave was a film that, literally, I told my girlfriend this like a couple of days ago, she had no idea that film was made by Pixar. Like, she genuinely thought it was Disney, and for very good reason. It is a film that feels nothing like a Pixar film. It very much just feels like a Disney film. But Brave is interesting, even though Brave is maybe not the most imaginative story or funny or even interesting, the score and the character of Merida alone are what give it the qualities it have. Like, Merida is easily one of my favourite Disney princesses. Obviously, aside from the fact that she's not originally from Disney, she does technically count as one because she is at Disney parks. But holy shit, like, she's an amazing character. I love what she has. The voice acting in this film is obviously incredible. The lovely, lush Scottish accents are lovely, and I've got a lot of friends who are from Scotland, so, you know, I hope you guys are okay if any of you are watching. But yeah, like, Brave is an interesting film. Like, it's got so many good qualities, but it's just kind of meh as a story. But Brave is a very interesting one nonetheless, because, you know, it doesn't feel like a Pixar film. It's very interesting. And then from Brave, we went to Monsters University, which, of course, is the first and only prequel, I believe, in the Pixar franchise. Like, this film was really good. Like, usually prequels and sequels, obviously, as we know, can get a bit iffy, and, you know, you can find a lot of difficulty in making them. And the fact that they went with a prequel is very, very interesting, especially for this story. But Monsters University is great. Like, it's got an awesome soundtrack. I love the camaraderie and the friendship between these two characters and seeing how they blossom. Monsters University is almost a film that we didn't really necessarily need, but we got and we loved it. So it's like, sounds good, man. Love it. Monsters University, it's great. Inside Out, of course, came straight after that, and holy shit, Inside Out is up there with films like Up and Wall-E. It's absolutely incredible. That film isn't just a great Pixar film, it's a great film in general, and for good reason. It is seen as one of the greatest films. It's on IMDb's top 10, I believe. It's very, very high. And like I said, for good reason. It's incredibly emotional, very mature. Like, holy shit, like, Up is obviously a very mature film. Inside Out, Jesus Christ, like, that film is dark in so many ways and just makes you cry for all the most brilliant reasons. Inside Out is incredible. Like, what an abstract idea. I remember seeing the teaser trailer for this film, and I just think that looks like such an interesting idea. It's so Pixar, it's so fun, it's funny, it's got the most gorgeous score. Like, the music in that film is incredible. And reviewing Inside Out was such a fun thing because, like I said, not only is it a good Pixar film, it's just a great film in general, and everybody should watch that movie. It's so amazing. And then came The Good Dinosaur, which is a film that I really loved reviewing because, as you guys know, I do a personal review and a professional review. I believe that you can perhaps enjoy a film but maybe not personally enjoy it, or you can appreciate it. Maybe you can say, okay, I think I know this is a good film, but it's just not for me. And The Good Dinosaur is opposite of that. Like, that film got massively slated. I think it's known as Pixar's biggest bomb, or one of the biggest. And holy shit, like, I love that film. Now, yes, I've got some personal traits toward it. I like dinosaurs, so therefore I'm going to enjoy it even more. And it's not perfect, it's not. That's the thing. Like, again, like, professionally looking at it, yeah, there are a lot of issues with this film, but it's also got some great moments to it. I love the score. It's got great character arcs and gorgeous background animation. I know sometimes the character animation and the background animation doesn't necessarily, you know, meld together well, but I look over that and I think it's absolutely brilliant. So hopefully I think that might convince you guys, go back and watch The Good Dinosaur and just sit back, enjoy, and understand, yes, there are flaws, but there are some great things going for this film. So The Good Dinosaur, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's actually a really good movie. Just, you know, try and not compare it to others as much. Finding Dory then came out, which, again, another sequel to a film perhaps we didn't need, and especially for a character that we perhaps didn't need to see more of. I never thought a character that is very much seen as just a comedic character could make a step up and actually be as emotional as it was. Like, surprisingly, I find Finding Dory more emotional than Finding Nemo. Obviously, if you're a parent, I think you're probably going to enjoy Finding Nemo more. Dory's an outsider, and so I get to relate to that because I've very much been an outsider most of my life, and so Finding Dory, like, again, like, similar to something like The Good Dinosaur, this is a big film that a lot of people tend to shit on, but, you know, go back and watch it. It's actually pretty decent, and it's got a lot of great moments. Like, yeah, it's not perfect, and sometimes the pace can feel a bit weird, but it's got great moments, and I enjoy Finding Dory. Cars 3 is probably Pixar's most surprising thing ever. Like, it just is. Like, I'd never seen Cars 3 until I did my review, and holy shit. Like, you think about Cars 2. Terrible, shocking, it did awful in reviews. Why are they gonna do a third one? We know why, because it's John Lasseter's baby. But holy shit, Cars 3 is actually surprisingly good. Okay, it's not perfect, and it's actually not even in the top tier list of Pixar films. But when you think about how the Cars franchise came about, the first one came out, it's still a good film, but it's the worst Pixar film so far. Cars 2 came out and it's shockingly bad. You think, how can the third one be any better? But holy shit, Cars 3 has some amazing moments. Lightning McQueen's dynamic with, you know, a protege and having to deal with the death of his former mentor is incredible, and him getting old, like, I love that. Like I said, Cars 3 is damn near not perfect and has a lot of issues, but Christ, it's a surprise of how good it is. I like Cars 3. Coco is like the opposite to The Good Dinosaur for me, because that is a film that got massive raving reviews when it came out, and it is universally loved. A lot of people love the music of it, and yet for me, it doesn't do much for me. It's really weird. Again, this is where, like, personal versus professional. Professionally, of course, it's a wonderful movie. It's gorgeously looking. The music is very, very good and very simplistic and stylized, and I love it. But personally, I just don't relate to many of the characters and the style, and I actually love a lot of Spanish culture. And yeah, I don't know, Coco just doesn't really do much for me. It's so weird in a sense that it's like a film that I know is professionally very good. But personally, I haven't watched it since I did the review, and I probably will never watch it again. I'm not really bothered by it. Oh my god, Incredibles 2 is so underrated. You see, I go onto a lot of Pixar groups and Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, and Incredibles 2 is, like, massively slated. Like, holy shit, I've never seen people shit on a movie so much. Now, yes, of course, Incredibles 2 isn't as good as Incredibles 1, and 100%, and to be fair, The Incredibles 2 does have some minor issues, but they are just minor issues. It's still badass. Like, it's like Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron. Like, yes, one is better than the other, but it's got great action, great soundtrack, amazing characters. Yes, it's not as good as the first one, but it's still an incredible movie. Like, Incredibles 2, I love it. It's awesome. It's superhero movie goodness, and yes, it's awesome. And then we have Toy Story 4, which I loved doing that review because that film is so controversial and so divided. I will talk to one person, they'll be the same as me. They think it's brilliant, they think it's lovely, they think it's great. And I'll meet someone else and they think it's just the worst piece of shit they've ever seen. Like, genuinely shit on. Some people will maybe say, okay, like, I don't agree with how they went with the story and the characters, and it maybe diminishes the first 3 movies a little bit. Toy Story 4 very much run in a new direction, and it is now going in a new direction because of course we know Toy Story 5 is going to be made. And doing the review was really interesting because of that reason. I knew I was going to get shit on, and I did. There's a lot of people who commented in saying that they do not like Toy Story 4 in the slightest, and some people are saying that it's great. And it's so interesting. Like, Pixar don't really tend to do very controversial movies. Most people tend to have the same opinion. Every now and then there could be slight differences, but holy shit, like, people either love or hate this movie, and I think that's what makes it a good talking point for Pixar is, how do you feel about Toy Story 4? And then there's a film like Onward, which is a film that I just can't get on board with. Like, if you ask me what probably one of the worst Pixar films is aside from Cars 2, it probably is Onward. And this film is such a shame because it had such a brilliant premise. The idea of mythical creatures, you know, coming to life and magic dying and sort of coming back into it. It's a really interesting idea, but it just needed some time in the oven, I think. It just needed more time to brew. It needs to fix up the cast. It's got way too many stars in there. Chris Pratt and Tom Holland were like, at the time of coming out, I think Avengers had like just come out. You know, they were high on everyone's radar and were like, yeah, we'll get Chris Pratt and Tom Holland in and they'll market our movie amazingly well, and that's how it works. And it was like, yeah, it doesn't mean your movie's any good, you know. The story's a little bit iffy. The fact that the father is just a pair of legs. How am I supposed to connect to a character if he's literally just a pair of legs? And then, of course, we have the casting, like I already said. The music is meh at best. It's such an interesting one because Onward could have been really good. It just needed more time in the oven, in my opinion. Soul is probably one of the most interesting films I ever watched. It's such a shame because this film was the first film that didn't get a theatrical review because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I really want that film to come back to the cinema. When I first watched this film, I thought it was either the most greatest film ever created or one of the worst films ever created. You really have to watch it twice to really get it. Like, when I first watched it, I didn't understand it at all, didn't understand the premise, didn't understand the meaning behind everything. Watched it a second time, I was absolutely blown away. It's also interesting that I did not give this film a professional rating because you should just watch this film. It's a film for everybody. And considering it actually has a big star like Jamie Foxx in the role, he does a phenomenal job as the character of Joe, and I love it. Like, everybody should watch Soul at some point. It's so gorgeous and just really takes you by surprise, I think, especially as animation films go, and certainly as films go. It has a very interesting message about life, which I think is so beautiful, and yeah, I absolutely love it. Luca is a really interesting film because that film is, I think, one of my more lower scoring films, particularly on both professional and personal. It's got a lot of thought behind it of the friends you make while on summer vacation and then you have to go back to school, and I think it's got some really interesting things going for it despite everything, but Luca just kind of, again, probably needed more time in the oven to bake a little bit and make it a little bit more cleaner, because there are some great moments and some really, terrible, boring ass moments. I was really excited for Luca, but it really did fall short. But it's got gorgeous animation. I think especially for humans, Pixar don't tend to do human characters, but I think in terms of a stylistic art, Luca definitely does some of the best human characters in the Pixar category, in my opinion. Turning Red is, again, one of those great films that you can watch for the ideology of what I have, which is a personal review and a professional review. I enjoyed reviewing this film because it's a film that is made so specifically for people, and if you research the director and everyone who's involved in this film, it's very personal, very much internal. You can tell they had a voice, and I love that. A lot of people view Turning Red as one of the worst Pixar films, but it is actually very good. You just have to be the right person for that movie. And it's interesting, I think I gave this film a 5 out of 10 on my personal roll, and that's because, I'm not going to be as interested in this film as others are, but I really appreciated what they were trying to do. And once again, Turning Red, of course, didn't get a theatrical review, which is a big shame because, you know, this film is gorgeously looking. It's got some really unique animation in it, and obviously very heavily inspired by anime and that sort of thing. It's also one of the most funniest movies for Pixar ever as well, which is one thing I really appreciate about it, but you have to be the right person for this film. Now we're getting on to the two ones that I really want to talk about. Lightyear is so underrated. Lightyear, yes, it's not perfect. I wanted more from it. I wanted more on an emotional level from this character, but you know what it is? It's an awesome action movie, man. Like, when you think about action from Pixar, the most they have probably done, of course, is The Incredibles. And so they haven't done like proper action-packed films for years, but Lightyear is awesome. It's heavily influenced by films like Star Wars and Aliens, and I absolutely love it. It's just a nod to sci-fi action movies. And so, yeah, like, even though this film is by far not perfect, for what it's giving us, I love it. It's a great action movie with an awesome character I love, and of course a great performance from Chris Evans. I know a lot of people shit on the fact that why didn't they just go for Tim Allen, but the fact that Tim Allen plays the toy, this is the film. What's interesting, of course, is the character of Woody, of course played by Tom Hanks in the films, is not voiced when he does all the merchandise. If you pick up a Woody toy in the Disney store, that is not Tom Hanks' voice, that is his brother. So I just think it's really interesting that people shit all over Chris Evans and the voice cast reasons, when really, it's actually very smart. And of course, we have a film that I'm so happy now is getting the recognition it deserves. We have Elemental. A film that's just done massively on Disney Plus. Like, so many people watched it the day it came out, myself included. I loved watching it for the second time on Disney Plus. And I watched this film in the cinema and I absolutely adore it. Like, it really got slated a little bit in reviews, and I think this is a film that is definitely going to get more recognition as it comes, and people are going to realise actually how good this film is. It's a gorgeous love story between two great characters, and also voiced by great characters. Again, this is Pixar doing something that they should always do, which is cast on voice acting talent. Ember's voice actress is absolutely incredible. She knocks it out the park. And yeah, I love Elemental. Me and my girlfriend rewatched it and it was just so nice to watch together, and we love this movie. It's amazing. I absolutely adore it, and I think you should all go watch it as well. So thank you for joining me in this very special, the 500 subscribers special video. I hope you stuck around all to the end just hearing me ramble on about all the Pixar movies we've got so far. I really didn't know what I wanted to do for this special, but I knew I wanted to do something, but mainly, if you stuck around to the end, once again, guys, I just want to say thank you. The fact that I have 500 people watching me is absolutely incredible, and I'm so proud of myself and what I do. I love the content I do, and thank you to you guys for commenting and keeping me going. People are commenting on my videos, and I love having conversations with you guys. Like, it's amazing actually how many times there are just massive paragraphs on my comments on my videos, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, thank you guys. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, it means the world to me that I can keep doing this after all these years. And hopefully, maybe in a few years' time, I can quit my fucking day job and create content for you guys every single day, because that would be the dream. If you are watching this video and you aren't subscribed for whatever reason, please do subscribe. I do see that most of the people that actually watch my videos, I think 97% of them aren't subscribed. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this very special video. Again, thank you so much. 500 subscribers on the Average Critic channel. Be sure to follow me on all my Instagram, and also I do have my Patreon page if you are interested in joining me on there as well. But thank you so much, guys, and I will see you all in the next one.